ladies and gentlemen. What's good, y'all? It's Chris Gary, it's Andrew Benjamin. You tuned in for another episode of We Are Rising podcast, where we discuss all things about the Rising Fighting Federation, Japanese MMA in general. And boy, oh boy, do we got a show for y'all to tune into today. But first, let me remind y'all can check us out on Twitter. My handle is at ChrisGary92. My podcast partner, Andrew Benjamin, his handle is at ABenja1, BENJA, by the way. And the show podcast, the Twitter handle for this is at We Are Rising Pod, WEARERIZINPOD, and all in one word. And Andrew, why don't you tell the fine people listening to us on this second quarantine edition of the podcast what they're going to be listening to today?
One of the things that we wanted to do initially back in December when the Bellator Japan show happened was we wanted to cover the Bellator / Rizin Post Lims match that happened right after the Bellator show. Unfortunately, much to the chagrin and much to what sounded like a momentous amount of stupidity both from Bellator and Rizin's part, um, that these postrums were not aired outside of America. And what I mean by that is if you could only see these on Gao or Sky Perfect. Now, Gao and Sky Perfect are only available in Japan with a Japanese credit card or a Japanese email, one of those two or both of them. So basically, the only way that anybody got to see any sort of or get to keep up with these shows was by updates from people who were at the show live at the Super Saitama Arena and through video clips, like fan clips on social media, that sort of thing, or even like from the fighters themselves. However, luckily we had some very generous people, both on YouTube and on Daily Motion, who have uploaded the full fights to the show, and actually you can see the fights, a good amount of the fights as they aired on Gao. Some of them, unfortunately, you have to watch as if it's an old fan cam, like the old what convicted, or I should say, definitely pedophile Rob Feinstein used to do with the ECW shows back in the 90s. Um,
Uh,
and so you can find those on YouTube, Daily Motion. Um, Unfortunately, you can't really look up the fighters' names in English because the people who post them are Japanese. So they use the kanjis of the Japanese fighters and the katakanas of the foreign fighters. But you can find them on YouTube and Daily Motion. Just you have to look around, but they are easy to find. The Bellator Post Lims, and on paper, all fans were really looking forward to seeing the show because it looked good on paper. I have to say though, as somebody who did watch all the fights, I don't know if the post-lims were as good as they appeared on paper. Um, and just to let everybody know as well, so the Bellator these fights were done in a Bellator cage, but then they were done with Rizin rules. So foot stomps, knees to the ground, and all that sort of thing. And in the kickboxing match, it was Rizin kickboxing rules. So no elbows, 3 minutes, 2 rounds, no overtime, and also that was in a cage as well. So that was a little wonky thing. But yeah, what basically what I thought the premise of the postums was to show fighters who either were looking to get back on the winning column or fighters who were looking to make a name, get a big win in Rizin. And I think you got that, but I think a lot of the fights didn't wind up turning up out as exciting as they did on paper. Christian, what were you able to see of these fights that happened on the postlims?
well, considering the fact that up until the time you called me, I just got done looking at the first fight, not very much other than that leg lock submission by Shomashibi's side, which we will get to momentarily. But from the way that these fights were promoted, and believe me, we promoted the hell out of some of these fighters, obviously. I mean, I tried to get an interview with Andy Nguyen. We all interviewed. I think we interviewed a few of the fighters on the fight card. Obviously, we interviewed Jared Brooks and Paulo Ochi. We interviewed separately Jamie Henshaw and
And we also interviewed Hiroto Yuasako, who was in the main event of the.
we interviewed Uesako as well, the strongest lightweight in Japan. But to be quite honest, the fact that these fights not only didn't get shown outside of Japan, as far as Gyal and Sky Perfect goes, but they didn't even get promoted outside of Japan via Bellator or Rizin. It's just sickening.
Yeah, I think that was, here's the thing, it was. I don't want to get into the whole kerfluffle that happened with that whole thing because it was a major, major kerfluffle on so many levels. But these fights were definitely fans wanted to see, and it would have been good, I think, to show them somehow, some way, to a Western audience, especially with Bellator running their show on Paramount. You could have had them maybe on the Zone or something, just to show, a new brand of MMA to a Western audience. So, but it was an incredible mess of epic proportions. You know, finding out these shows were ever going to air outside Japan or anything. Because you remember we heard the very last week that it happened, that the show happened, it wasn't going to happen. I think it was like that Monday that we heard.
Mm-hmm,
and then
exactly.
and then yeah, a lot of fighters were a lot of it looked like the impression was given was that the fighters were told that their show would be shown in America. That's at least what as Kana Azakura gave an interview for some Japanese magazine, and that's what she said, that she was looking to having to like being on television in America. So yeah, there was that.
He was probably really hoping to be on television in America.
Yeah, and also I think Jared Brooks also had that expectation as well. So yeah,
I mean, obviously he talked to us.
Yeah,
so we automatically assumed that the damn fight card was going to air in some way, shape, or form here in these United States.
Exactly. So it was an incredibly frustrating week, especially because it was a bunch of fights that fans are looking forward to, and a bunch. It was a great week for fights. I remember that week was like an incredible week of just combat sports fights. That December New Year's Eve week with the PFL.
Yeah, and obviously it was the first time in a long time that the UFC didn't suck up most of the New Year's weekend, buzz when it came down to ending the year off with a bang.
Bellator had their thing, Rizin had their thing, PFL had their thing, so it would have been capped off, to see like a lot of those to see these fights that a lot of people want to see, and well, now you can see them. You just can't. You can see them unofficially. I would like to say on YouTube in Daily Motion, and we are Rizin podcast. This was part of Rizin. We initially just read the results angrily and very disappointingly.
Yeah.
So, but
frustrated and butt-hurtingly.
Exactly. But we can talk about the fights now that I've seen them all, and perhaps as we watch, maybe you can sneak look at them as we're talking about them. Perhaps who knows, Christian. But I think that we could definitely talk about the first fight because first fight was a quickie, so that was an easy one to watch.
It was. It was. As most of the fights on this Postlim card ended via finish, but the final two ended in the third round.
Mm-hmm.
So we can definitely go ahead and run through these results.
Yes, exactly.
Like, for example, first fight, heavyweights, or as they say in Rizin, as they should say in Rizin, the open weight division. former Gunryu Jima 100 kilogram, I guess, tournament winner. I don't know. I don't really understand kanji. I only read in romanji, but still. Point of the matter is, Shoma Shibisai upped his professional MMA records, 6-2, submitting Sergey Shimatov, who hadn't, at the time of this fight happening, who hadn't had a fight in 4 years, submitting him 11-8 via Imanari-style leg lock submission, 49 seconds into round. And obviously that was preceded by a bunch of punches.
Yeah,
now, I just have to ask, as far as Shibisai goes, do you think that he'll eventually get another chance to fight in Rizin?
absolutely, he should.
And hold on, one more
Okay.
question. As far as Shimatov goes, seeing the fact that this was his first fight in 4 years, and he had a lengthy winning streak going into this fight, is it over for him? I mean, I know he's 36, but is it over for the Shimatov brothers in Rizin, or are they still going to harass more people just to get in the Rizin ring?
Well, they're still doing it. I'm still being tagged in their social media stuff on the We Are Ryzen official Twitter account, and I know that they're still putting up crazy videos of them training in the Arctic freezing temperatures of Siberia. So
The Siberian Alps.
Yeah, so I think.
Oh, by the way, Shimatov had a 5-fight winning streak going into this fight before losing to Shibisai.
So I think that they're still going to gun for Rizin. I don't know how many fights they have on a contract. My guess is probably for Sergey, probably like with most fighters who get a Rizin contract, it's a 1-fight deal with the promise of a second fight if they win. Possibly a 2-fight deal. Who knows? But we barely got to see anything of him. He got taken down, punched, and then submitted. So unlike his brother, Vitali, who we got to see more of in the Jake Kuhn debut, Rizin debut, you kind of got a feeling of like, okay, this guy, he still is a good fighter, but he just got bested by the better fighter that night. And then got the second chance against Simon Biong. And then, in fairness, which he had a nice armbar on him, but did not get that. Did not get the submission. But nonetheless, we got Sergey, coming off that 4-fight win streak and getting submitted in less than a minute that is not good. That is not a good look. I mean, we also have to take into account what's going on in the world right now. We have a pandemic of coronavirus going around. There are multiple travel bans around the world that are going to be happening, and one of them is actually in Australia. So, Shematov may not have been a fighter who Rizin would bring back, but if they can't get back fighters like Jake Kuhn, who trains in Australia, for their heavyweight division or openweight division, there's going to be a lot of issues. Your pool of fighters are going to be much smaller. Obviously, Shibisai could come back. Shibisai has won all but one of his Rizin fights, and he's done it in great fashion. Your heavyweight division is gonna get smaller now. Now that presumably JQ will not be able to fight in Rizin anymore as long as the travel ban in Australia is happening. So I mean,
not to mention the travel ban here in the States as well.
Yeah, of course. I mean, well, here's the thing: does the travel ban affect Guam? I would believe it doesn't.
I mean, I'm not really sure, considering the fact that there's only 2 ways you can get to Guam, and that's either via cruise ship or via plane.
My
you
guess
can't really get there by car.
I haven't heard anything about there being the same thing. Guam is a principality of the United States. Puerto Rico, same thing as well. So, but I haven't heard of any restrictions of Puerto Rico. So my guess would probably be that there is no. So you would still have Rocky Martinez in the division. I guess if you wanted to do a another heavyweight fight with Shemetov, um, well, the things that I was about to say Hideki Sekine, Shrek Sekine, but the problem is he's now in the Noah Tag Team Tournament. But I don't even know if that's even going to still happen. Uh,
It's probably going to be postponed up until the summer.
Rizin's supposed to be running a show April 22nd, but we've heard nothing about whether it's going to be no fans, or is it even going to still be at the Yokohama Arena. We don't know at this point. So if the fight,
Now see, when it comes down to this, I actually looked up a little bit of it on the Twitter account, on the Twitter feed, from the one tweet that they posted like minutes ago, maybe hours ago, I'm not sure, but they said that the tickets for the event, Rizin 22, was still going to be sent out to the general public on March 22nd. But of course, obviously, if you're delayed a bit from the time of this recording right now, which is of course March 20th at 12:19 a.m. Central Standard Time, 1:19 a.m. Eastern, that's exactly 2 days from now.
I see.
So they said they have made. They said they haven't made a decision yet, but they will once the tickets get released in the next 48 hours.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, you might like I said, you might have to just bring Shemetov just because the pool will be smaller. Shibasai is obviously, I would say put him up against JQ next, but we don't know this as JQ. I guess the fight you could make is Rocky Martinez versus Shibasai. And yeah, like I said, if Sakine is not doing anything, maybe him versus Shemetov. Um, those are the only two fights I could think of right now, given the current state that we are in. Any comments, Christian, about this fight or anything I said?
To be honest, I wouldn't mind seeing that fight get made. I think that would be a fun fight just to even think of seeing.
Yeah. No, I agree. I absolutely agree. Um, yeah, that's really all. This fight was very short. You can probably brew a cup of coffee longer. You should do. Do you remember when Chris Benoit made the coffee? Said he can make a cup of coffee quicker than
He defeated Orlando Jordan at that one SummerSlam event in like 2005, if I'm not mistaken. He beat Orlando Jordan in like 38 seconds or something.
Yes. Basically, do the same thing.
Coffee on the post SummerSlam edition of SmackDown and said, "I win again." After he brewed, after he obviously brewed the cup of coffee in the amount of time it took to beat to beat Orlando Jordan.
So yeah, basically do that and put the fight on. Your coffee will come out much quicker.
Yeah, exactly. Even though we're not trying to condone Chris Benoit, the murderer, we're trying to condone Chris Benoit, the wrestling icon.
Of course.
And, obviously the rest of the show goes on. And, damn it, what am I saying? I'm just looking at this fight right now that we're about to talk about. And it's just crazy.
Would you like me to take over this one, Christian, while you watch?
Well, actually, I'll go ahead and talk about it because it looks like, from the looks of it, they're not giving him a mic for obvious reasons. So let's just go ahead and talk about it. John Cruz Tuck defeated now current deep welterweight champion Ichiro Sumimura via TKO. 3 minutes, 45 seconds of round number one. John Tuck, who made it his last professional MMA fight for the time being, ups his professional MMA record to 11-5 after tallying W's and L's in the UFC for a long while. Sumimura, his professional record at the time of the end of this fight was 14-8. He has since gone to 15-8 with another defense of the deep welterweight title. But I think it goes without saying, and we talked about this during the Brawl International review show, but it goes without saying. Is John Cruz Tuck done with being an MMA fighter because of the allegations that just came out about him molesting kids. And as far as Ryuichi no Sumimoto goes, now that he's still the deep welterweight champion and gotten another win on his tally, do you think that he'll probably be finding his next professional MMA fight in a rising ring?
I wouldn't be surprised with Sumimura. Though it's funny, he's well, technically, I mean, do you want to count these fights as Bellator or as Rizin? What do you think? What would they count in the greater scheme? Because they're listed under the Bellator 237 page on Tapology, but I don't know. Do you count it as a Bellator loss or a Rizin loss? Both, maybe. I don't know.
Probably. I mean, seeing the fact that it was under rising rules, it's a rising loss.
I got
Even
you.
though John Tuck is signed, or I guess now you can say was signed as a Bellator fighter.
Oh, good point. So I guess he could definitely come back. The problem is though is that he is 0-2 in Ryzen. So one of the things we talked about, Ryzen has a deficit of is welterweights, um, especially big brother De Souza, Marcos De Souza, possibly retiring. There may be a lack of 170 people in the division. So I mean, and plus I don't want to see Sumimura versus Falco Neto because it'll be a terrible fight because Falco Neto will get his ass kicked. You want to put somebody a little bit who has a little bit more of fight cachet, I guess you could say. Um, I don't know. I'm trying to think of people who are like 170, and you might have to just you know I think there's going to be probably a lot of people you're going to have to like a lot more local fighters from Japan, Deep, Pancreas, that sort of thing that you're going to have to poach from because again with the way the world is now, it's going to be a lot harder to get a lot of international fighters, particularly from Australia, United States, Europe. You might be able to get some people from Russia, but um, yeah, it's gonna be especially 170. It's gonna be a lot smaller. In the case of John Tuck, yeah, it's gonna be his last fight for a while, possibly forever. Who knows? That's all I gotta say about him.
I mean, come to think of it, you don't want to say anything about how, being in the UFC has sheltered him, so to speak.
Shelter him? What do you mean? In what way?
I mean, if you think about it, he fought like, I don't know, about 6 or 7 times inside the octagon prior to this fight.
Yeah,
I mean,
he had like a win loss. It was kind of like he would win one, he would lose one, win one, lose one. He go back and forth, back and forth. It just wasn't. Eh, his
yeah, actually, he fought 9 times inside the octagon, going 4-5 in it. And he
Yeah.
was a member of season 15 of The Ultimate Fighter as well.
Yeah, he was like a gatekeeper. He's the exact definition of a gatekeeper in UFC. Where would his career gone? After this win, probably would have maybe fought in Bellator or in Rizin potentially. Again, but yeah, as of now, that ain't happening.
Yeah, because of course, it's like you said, if it is true that he did rape those kids, I mean, that he did sexually assault a child, and if it is true that he will get convicted, he can go be cellmates with ally. No, he can go be cellmates with Abel Trujillo.
Just to let you know, just to clarify as well, apparently it wasn't has anything to do with children. I don't think it wasn't a minor, but it was a adult girl. Apparently they were at a restaurant. He grabbed her by the arm, took her in the back, and then apparently that's where he sexually assaulted her.
Oh,
Not that it makes it any
oh,
better, or that doesn't make it any worse. I should say. Um,
no shit.
uh, but
So
reg-
yeah.
but regardless, it's a serious crime. If it's not true, hope he's found innocent. If it is true, yes, Trujillo and him will be best buds.
Yeah, of course. And you want to go ahead and go on to the next fight?
Sure,
Which
sure,
is what
sure.
I'm watching right now?
Sure.
Okay.
We got
Okay.
a super atomweight fight.
Yeah. 108-pound contest as Crazy B's Princess B, Ai Shimizu, remained undefeated, defeating the Crazy Andy Nguyen. Ai Shimizu improved to 5-0. Andy Nguyen dropped to 6-9, losing 3 straight, and seeing her Rizin rules record drop to 1-3. Obviously, when it comes down to Shimizu, her Rizin rules record goes up to 2-0. But if you think about it, and I can't really say I had an interview or a chance to talk with Nguyen, even though she did. I mean, even though I did send her like interview questions, because of course she was busy training at Scorpion Fighting Systems in Fowlerville, Michigan, prior to the fight. So I didn't get a chance to actually talk to her like via phone interview or anything like that. But do you think that when it comes to Andy Nguyen's MMA career, that it's best for her to, at 37 years old, call it a career? She's going to turn 38 next month, by the way. And as far as Ai Shimizu go, what's next? I mean, she's 30 years old. She's pretty much the future of Crazy B, obviously alongside Ursin Yamamoto and Miyu Yamamoto, but what's next for her?
For Nguyen, well, unfortunately, because I saw this from a fan video, I did not get to see her. Actually, no, it wasn't a fan video, but nonetheless, the entrance was cut off, so I did not see. Apparently, she said she had a nice entrance planned. I have no idea what it is, but I did not get to see.
Oh, it was her. If you haven't seen the video on Twitter, it was her doing the damn hammer dance with with basically some parachute pants on, like MC Hammer had.
Oh, that's funny. That's hilarious. Eddie Nguyen, is I would say you can keep her around because she brings something different to a Rizin ring. Is she the best fighter? No, it's so funny because I thought she was going to be one of Rizin's top fighters when they first started, when she first started there, but I was wrong. She seems to she is not doing too well lately, especially she's on a three fight losing streak. But I think you could.
And I find that sad because she's a former 2-time King of the Cage women's atomweight world champion, but I don't see why she's taking such. I mean, I don't see why she's just steadily taking beatings like that. I mean, granted,
I have a theory. I think she's spending too much of her time posing for those calendar girl things that she sells on her like personal page or whatever it is.
I'm surprised she probably doesn't have an only. I mean, I'm probably surprised she doesn't have an OnlyFans account.
Don't be surprised, if that eventually happens. If she gets an OnlyFans account, who knows at this point?
Yeah, of course. Not that we don't condone. I mean, not that we don't condone it. We actually kind of respect what people go through in that type of field.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, actually, not that we don't frown upon it. We actually respect those types of people. But the point of the matter is, it would suck for her, to go from fighting in the Rizin ring or in Rizin rules, going 1-3 overall in the Rizin rule set, with her only win being against Miyu Yamamoto, to sucking pipes.
Here's the thing. I would love to see her against Kana Azakura because one of the things I call Kana Azakura the king of the cage killer. So I kind of would like to see her probably get beaten by Kana Azakura just to see Kana Azakura get another king of the cage person under her belt. But obviously, I think that fight would be so mismatched. I think you can't do it at this point. I don't know who you put Andy Nguyen against. I don't know. Do you do against Miyu Yamamoto once again? Third match.
I don't think so because when it comes to Miyu Yamamoto, yeah, even though she's a points fighter, she's also one of the top contenders in the Rizin Anime division.
What about against Amp the Rocket? Amp the
Oh,
Pocket Rocket.
she'll get her arm. If that were to happen, Andy would get her arm broken.
Which who knows? That may not even happen because again, Thailand is under lockdown, so we may never see. Well, I should say, but we may not see any of the. We may not see Top Noi anymore. We may not see Amp anymore. The deep women's uh, what's the deep thing women's thing called again? I forgot. Why am I mind blanking?
Deep Jewels.
Deep Jewels. Yeah, they just had a show and like 80% of the fighters on there were from Thailand and were called something the Rockets. So,
Maybe they all came from that same fight gym that Amp the Rocket come from.
What is it? Tiger Muay Thai? Is that where? Is that where?
Yeah, Tiger Muay Thai.
Actually, by the way, also if you don't know this, Thailand just passed a like a recreational like like basically no gyms are allowed to operate in Thailand right now. So Phuket top team closed. Tiger Muay Thai closed.
AKA Thailand.
AKA Thailand. So those gyms aren't operating. Manel Cape mentioned on social media that he can't train right now. So yeah, we Thai tires may not be even an option for Ryzen anymore. Now, actually, in the case, let's talk about Aishimizu. Aishimizu is definitely, climbing up the ranks in Ryzen in that super anime division. I think a great fight to make next would be either her versus Reina or her versus Kana. I have so far has had low level to mid level competition at this point, and she has won all those fights so far. I think it's time for to get a much higher level fighter like a Kana Azakura or a Reina Kubota to fight against next. What do you think, Christian?
I mean, yeah, I think both of those fights would make sense because, of course, seeing the fact that seeing the fact that Ai Shimizu is pretty much, a pupil of Miyu Yamamoto, you're not gonna have a teacher versus student fight unless it's in a tournament.
Yeah.
Which, of course, the Rising Anime division aren't gonna have at least for the time being. So
Yeah.
I think that it would be best if Ryzen were still fully operational after this whole pandemic to have Ai Shimizu versus Akana Asakura or Ai Shimizu versus Arena Kubota.
By the way, I also just want to point out this was a split decision win for Ai Shimizu. Not so sure how it was a split because I thought that Shimizu dominated almost the entire fight. So I'm not so sure how one judge thought that Andy Nguyen won. But
maybe because that judge was probably enticed by Andy's dance moves.
Oh, it's entirely possible. It's entirely possible. Now, with this next fight, Christian, I would very much like to read it because the fighter who won this is a fighter who perhaps goes against all Ryzen's ideas of a fighter. If you catch my drift. So, mind if I take this one over?
Go ahead.
We have a flyweight fight between Makoto Takahashi and Yusaku Nakamura, done at a catch weight of 128 pounds. Sorry,
I think you mean Makoto Shinryu Takahashi.
Oh, he goes by Shinryu? Oh, yeah, I forgot he goes by Shinryu. Yeah, Makoto Shinryu. Anyway, it was done at a catch weight of 128 pounds, but both are flyweight fighters. And Shinryu is a fighter who is 19 years old. Fights out Palestra Matsudo, which has a lot of fighters in Ryzen. from Miyagi,
Japan.
originally from Miyagi, and 5'4". You know what his record is?
I know what his record now, but what was his record prior to this fight?
9-1-1. He beat Nakamura, and now has a 10-1-1 record. Now Takahashi, he has won all of his fights by decision. Every fight has been a decision win. All of his fights were. All of his fights. So he's got two. He won one fight by split decision, one by majority, but the rest were unanimous decision wins. And as somebody who watched this match, just to let you know, Yusuke Nakamura, his record goes to 16-7-1 after this match, and he's actually one of my least favorite fighters in Rizin.
Nakamura?
Yeah, I don't think he's that good of a fighter, especially after the Top Noy match where he got his teeth knocked out. Remember that? And like his teeth went like flying out. I think he should have lost that fight based on damage, but he did not.
Oh, I'm pretty sure that he hadn't learned his lesson. I mean, he had not learned his lesson from that fight on to this fight.
Well, for this fight, basically, Takahashi just kept on taking down Nakamura for all 3 rounds, and was doing the Ben Askren special. He was doing the GSP post-surgery special. He was basically taking him down and point fighting him. Something that Rizin has very much said that they don't want to promote. They want to promote exciting matches. They don't want to promote lay and prayers. And I'm going to say this. If Takahashi fights a much higher level flyweight or bantamweight in Rizin, they are going to know that as soon as he goes for a takedown, I'm going to just kick this guy in the face. I'm going to kick this teenager right in his face and knock his teeth out. So, based on that, I have no interest in seeing Nakamura in Rizin ring ever again. I don't think he's Rizin worthy anymore. Takahashi, though, he's 19. He can still grow as a fighter, but...
Oh, definitely he can. I mean, the dude has a 900 record.
So, but the problem is, I don't know if he's gonna fight at flyweight in Rizin, or if he's gonna go up in bantamweight. If he goes up in bantamweight, he's gonna be facing a lot of both big and literal and big and figuratively in competition. So if Rizin makes a flyweight division, he should absolutely stay there. But I again don't know. Flyweight's kind of a wonky little division right now because Rizin's now focusing on that bantamweight division. So I'm not so sure. You're gonna have to probably get people from Pancrase or Deep to come in and do the flyweight division. I think. I mean, I guess I'm trying to think of unless the UFC plans to cut a bunch of flyweights, there's no. I don't see. I can't see. I can't think of any flyweights right now that you would put against Takahashi.
I mean, come to think of it, would you probably see? I mean, you're saying that you wouldn't see. I mean, you don't see any. What am I trying to say? You're probably saying that you don't see. Takahashi getting a good opportunity to fight against some name brand fighters, but
unless he goes to the bantamweight, I think if he goes to bantamweight, you'll be more opportunity. Flyweight, not so sure at this point.
I mean, kind of think of it. If he goes up to bantamweight, aren't you kind of afraid that he might fizzle out?
It's possible. That's a risk, but I don't know what else you're gonna do.
The bell rings face to face and we're
sorry. I don't know what else.
It's okay.
I don't know what else I don't know. You're gonna have to get some from flyweights from somewhere. From just like Japan, from Japan locally, perhaps maybe Russia. Yeah. That's what you're gonna have to do. If not, then he will have to move up unfortunately, and he'll be at a size disadvantage and also just at a name disadvantage, just like a fighter recognition disadvantage. He will get schooled at bantamweight. I 100% believe.
I see, I see. And I mean, to be quite honest, even if he doesn't go up to flyweight, would you potentially see him, fight for the deep? Would you potentially see him fight for the deep flyweight title if the opportunity presented itself?
I think he is a deep. Isn't he the deep flyweight champion now? I believe he is. I believe he is a deep flyweight champion.
Let me go ahead and check because.
Or he may have lost. His one sole loss is to Tatsumitsu Wada. He may have lost it to him. Double check on that for a second.
Okay, I am trying to. It's this wonky ass internet. It ain't really working worth the shit. So.
Nope, he is champion. He is champion. He did beat Yuya Shibata for the interim title.
Yeah, and he was elevated to. He was elevated to full-time champion, but unfortunately, more recently, he fought Haruo Ochi in a exhibition that led to a no contest.
Yeah. Yep. That's no finishes on his entire record for anything. So if he goes to bantamweight, he will get finished. So hopefully, he can just grow as a fighter and stop being a lay in prayer.
I see. But still, as far as Nakamura goes, you have no interest in ever seeing him again?
Not anymore. He's not anymore. Stick to deep or where his original lane is. He's not Rizin worthy. Absolutely not.
I see. And before we get to this next fight, which I'm watching right now, what are your thoughts about kickboxing in a cage?
It was strange. Because I don't think I've ever seen kickboxing in a cage before. I can't recall.
Come to think of it, I have inside of. I have obviously in 1FC because they do that all the time.
I forgot about that. But but like Glory's never done it in a cage as far as I recall. K1 doesn't do it in a cage.
Well, they had that one fight between, I think, Patrick Smith, the late Patrick Smith, may he rest in peace, versus Kimo Leopoldo.
Oh, okay. It was a unique look, I'll say. Especially probably the fighters also thought it was unique because most kickboxers are used to fighting in a ring most of the time, so they probably thought, oh, I got to fight in a cage, so it's going to be a little bit different. And also rising kickboxing rules, which allows no elbows.
Exactly.
So, it was a unique aesthetic, I will say.
Okay, well, let me go ahead and get to this kickboxing bout. And that was Rin Hiramoto knocking out and pretty much demolishing Takahiro Shida in 2 minutes and 49 seconds of round number 1. He improves his professional kickboxing, he being Hiramoto, improves his professional kickboxing record, fresh off of fighting just 17 months prior. No, wait, 21 months. God damn it, what am I saying? He came back to professional kickboxing 21 months after beating Kyle Wirasprep in the 2018 Combat Press Upset of the Year at the K-Festa 1 show in Japan. At the Saitama Super Arena, the same building where he got this win over. And
I think he had an injury.
Pretty much dominated Ashida for the entirety of them 3 minutes, beating him in 2 minutes and 49 seconds.
I think he had an injury of some kind. That's why I think he had an injury of some kind. I don't know if it was related to the fight, but I believe he was injured. That's why he had to take those 21 months off. My guess would probably be a leg injury. Just because if it was a leg injury, you gotta do therapy and all that stuff, and so that's why it'd be longer than if it was an arm injury. But sorry, Christian, go ahead.
Understood. But the point of the matter is, Rin Hiramoto ups his professional kickboxing record to 11-4 with 6 KOs. This one being the more devastating of all 6 of them. Ashita, who was making his professional kickboxing debut off the back of having a professional MMA record. And I'm trying to look at it right now. Give me a second. I'm doing this on the fly. But still, Ashita was in his professional kickboxing debut. I mean, obviously, ain't no way he's going to be fighting in Rizin rules, for kickboxing anytime soon.
No.
But do you see him potentially fighting in his natural habitat of being a mixed martial artist?
I would prefer that. I don't know why people think, I don't know if these MMA fighters who are asked to do these kickboxing matches are, if it's an ego thing, or they generally want to do it. Because
I think it's probably more because of ego. They feel like they can actually conquer the world, trying to fight in their own little style, but nah, they get flattened down to earth really quickly. And oh, by the way, Ashita, his professional MMA record, 23-10-2, and he was the former deep featherweight champion.
So I mean, definitely bring back Ashita for some, especially for featherweights. If that featherweight tournament happens this year, and you might wind up using more Japanese people because of how the world is. You might, I'll definitely, slide him in there. Ren Hiramoto, definitely keep him for your kickboxing matches. And apparently they did fight in the amateur level, Kaito Ono. But that would be a great match to have on a high level, on one of your kickboxing matches. Also, apparently, as an amateur as well, he intention fought, and guess who won?
Tension.
Nope, Ren Hiramoto won by decision.
Damn.
But since then, Hiramoto has gotten bigger, and Tension has not gotten any bigger. So they are at 2 incredibly different weight classes. So a match on the professional level, I don't think is going to happen, nor should it. Would you agree?
I mean, I would have to agree.
The most you can maybe do is a match with Taiju Shiratori versus Ren Hiramoto, I think. So that's the closest you can get to a Tenshin Hiramoto fight, I believe. So feel free to book that Rizin if you like to, or Rise.
I would hope so.
But it was a great knockout nonetheless, and hopefully we'll see Hiramoto back on a Rizin show again.
Now, do you want to go ahead and go on to the third to last post-lim of the evening? Because this was pretty hotly contested.
Oh, yes it was. Yes it was. Are you watching this fight, Christian, or are you taking it back?
I'm watching this fight, but I can go ahead and spoil myself a little bit. Jared the Monkey God Brooks defeated Haruo Ochi, the current deep men's strawweight world champion, via unanimous decision after 3 dominant 5-minute rounds. Brooks ups his professional MMA record to 16-2 and still wants to get an opportunity to fight in the UFC again, if the opportunity presented itself, of course. Ochi, who obviously is still the deep men's strawweight world champion, improves now to 19-8 with now 2 no contests. With now 2 draws and 1 no contest by virtue of him losing. By virtue of him having that one exhibition fight more recently with Makoto Takahashi. But still, point of the matter, Jared Brooks, he's always a fun guy to talk to. He's always a fun guy to watch, be it in his entrances or in his fight game, period. But where do you think he would bet? I mean, do you think that an opportunity to go back to the UFC would best suit him, or do you think that there are more exciting things for him to do, in the pack mule division of professional MMA, known as the men's strawweight division?
Well, also, I think that he declared that this was going to be his last fight at strawweight. So, um, unless like he's probably offered a lot of money at another strawweight fight, he probably is not. This is his last fight at strawweight. Um, so normally I would say, hey, you know what, Jared's definitely climbed up the ranks. Hey, you know what might be a good fight at featherweight? Him versus Takahashi Shinryu. I think that'd be an interesting fight. Unfortunately, don't know if that fight can be made in this day and age. So maybe down the line when things get less hectic, I'll say, maybe that's a fight to make. You have two wrestlers, and coming off wins, and I think that would be a good fight to make. Now, in terms of Brooks going to UFC, I mean, UFC flyweight division is a mess right now, so I don't even know what's going on with the flyweight division, other than the fact that the title is still vacant because the guy who won the match missed weight.
David Figueiredo versus Joseph Benavidez.
Who Jared Brooks has a bone to pick with. Figueiredo.
I mean, really, he has a bone to pick with Figueiredo?
Because he thinks because remember he lost that fight and he thought that he won that fight, and so did many other people as well.
Oh, right. I mean, Brooks, probably has a bigger bone to pick with Jose Fury Torres and Brave CF.
Oh yeah. Barring that though, hey, I wouldn't want to see him go in the UFC. I think he's good for Rizin, personally. I would much rather see him stick around. I mean, the thing is though, if he cannot get a fight booked in Rizin because of travel restrictions, then you know what? Please, by all means, go to UFC and make some money there. If that's the only way you can fight. I'm gonna say that about all the American fighters. That if they can't, the fighters who initially who were booked in Rizin can't get any more fights in Japan because of the travel restrictions. Please, you gotta make a living somehow. Go to UFC, go to Bellator, wherever it is. Okay? Don't starve yourself. Yeah, Haruochi is awesome. He's a very underrated fighter in my personal opinion.
I see, but do you think that he'll potentially get a chance to fight Rizin again?
I hope so. I mean, hopefully after all these travel restrictions are taken care of, he can. Until then, I don't know. He might Haruochi, still a great fighter, but Garrett Brooks is still the number one strawweight in the world, and could be number.
Let's just say he's a king without his crown, so to speak.
Yeah, exactly. But Haruochi is a good fighter as well. He had that great knockout. He knocked out Sanabe in their fight beautifully when they had their Deep versus Pancreas match. Yeah, I definitely would like to see Ochi at least back in the Rizin ring, and if Brooks can come back, hopefully him as well.
Right, of course. Now, do you want to head to the co-main event of the evening?
Yes, we have another super atomweight match.
And this was contested at 48.25 kilos or 107 pounds as Kana Asakura formerly the girlfriend of Tenshin Asakawa. Yeah, of course. Upped her professional MMA record to 16-4, defeating the current King of the Cage Women's Atomweight World Champion wearing the generic Rizin trunks, Jamie Atom Bomb Henshaw, via submission, Kimura, 3 minutes and 33 seconds of round number 3. Now, of course, when you think about Asakura, I mean, obviously we have to go back to what we said earlier in this podcast. You know, she would potentially be a good opponent for Ai Shimizu, but if not, if that ain't the case, do you see her potentially, you know, trying her best to fight? I mean, do you potentially see in her jettisoning her way back to title contention and potentially a shot at Seo Hee-ham? Should she get her stuff in order with all the, you know, I mean, with all the business transactions she's unfortunately having to deal with? And as far as Henshaw goes, obviously we both talked to her. She was pretty ecstatic about her trip to Japan, probably. But, I mean, if she's not Rizin worthy, I mean, do you think that all it would take for her to be relevant again is a few more King of the Cage title defenses and for her to actually fight some reasonable competition somewhere?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. I got no problem with that. You got it's so funny. You know, with Rising, you can almost do like a 6 degrees of King of the Cage, and like all these super atomweight fighters have some sort of connection to one another. It's so funny. Um, I'm trying to like if you wanted to bring. I mean, the thing is that she got schooled by Kana Azakura, so if if you wanted to do uh, Sabatella, it's not Sabatella, Henshaw versus um, let's say Andy Nguyen. You know, they both lost. Um, you could do it in the King of the Cage, but you could also do it in Rizin if you wanted to. I think that'd be.
Yeah, but wouldn't it be best for, you know, Henshaw to face off against somebody like Tabitha Watkins or maybe Alicia Zapatella?
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, have her face off against one of those two. She gets a win. She could definitely come back on a future Rizin show. As we said about Kana before, though, I think that Kana's. I think you gotta make a fight of her versus Ai Shimizu next. I think that's a fight. Not only because Kana's coming off. I think before this fight she lost. I think it was to Miyu, I believe, right?
I'm checking. Actually, no. She defeated Zapatella, and then she defeated Zapatella after the loss to Miyu.
Okay, gotcha. I know that wasn't the Zapatella fight the one that I think you said that I think you pegged as Zapatella was the winner of that one, I believe.
Yes, I did, and it was a pretty controversial decision.
Yeah, so
I mean, just as the Ai Shimizu Tabitha Batgirl Watkins fight was.
With the ghost tap, right?
Yep.
So yeah, so if you want to kind of count the Zapatella win as kind of like a soft win because it was a split decision win, and you could argue she did lose that in one judge's eye, she lost. Yeah, she still got to climb the ranks up a little bit more. So I think if a match with her versus Ai Shimizu is a fight that says, okay, if she can defeat this person who's climbed up the ranks, you could effectively say that Kana Zakura would maybe need one more fight after that, maybe or maybe after, depending on how the situation is with booking fights. She might get a title shot quicker than that, but I definitely think that the fight you gotta make is her versus Ai Shimizu. Not only for Ai's sake, but also for um, Kana's sake.
Exactly. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if even before this pandemic is over with, that particular fight will be made.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe they'll shoot for that. Maybe on the April 22nd card if it's still going on.
Mm-hmm. If it's still salvageable, so to speak.
Exactly. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And before we go into the main event of this fight card, not just the entire, Bellator Post Lims and all that, but the entire fight card, I just have to ask, what are your thoughts about calling after show fights Post Lims?
Do you mean? Would you repeat that question again?
What are your thoughts about calling after show fights like Post Lims? Aren't they normally called dark matches?
Yeah, I mean, I guess for MMA, they've always been called the Postlim fights, but I've never heard, but like in wrestling, it's called dark matches. I got no problem with that. My problem with these, I think that these should have been prelim matches, I think. And then the.
I mean, come to think of it, if they did, if they would have started these Postlims off as prelims, obviously the card would have taken place in the afternoon our time, which means unfortunately the morning their time.
Well, no, because the whole idea was that they weren't going to run the card anyway. I think that having them as prelims would have been, I guess, better. But it just seems strange to have all these fights after Fedor versus Rampage, which was the main event. It just seemed odd to go from Fedor Rampage to Kana Azakura versus Jamie Hinshaw. I don't know. The balance doesn't seem there.
Come to think of it, if all these fights were happening on American soil, unfortunately, all the people by the time they would have gotten to this fight we're about to talk about, the building would have been empty.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. People don't stay for Post Lims.
You can't have, because obviously you can't have American viewers or American fight fans sit through and watch 6 straight hours of a fight card, from top to bottom, and then expect them to sit through every last fight.
No, exactly. No, yeah, and yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense. It was just a really strange way to book the card, in my personal opinion. Because a lot of people don't stick around for those. Bellator has Post Lims, and so did PFL. And nobody sticks around for the Bellator Post Lims. You ever watch some of them on the Bellator channel? The audience is like a post lim. It's like a prelim. Nobody's there. It's entirely empty chairs.
Right. Of course. But basically, it would be more different. It would be no different than that Daniel Jacobs, Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. fight that we talked about beforehand, where shit just got crazy to the point where Jacobs was basically having things thrown at him because of it being a terrible decision on the referee's part.
Oh, yes.
Mm-hmm. They had to get rid of everybody in the venue, and the supposed last fight of the 20 teens that they had after that fight wasn't even shown.
Sorry, Christian, you broke up. What was that again?
Basically, what I was trying to say was, again, after the Chavez-Jacobs kerfuffle, they had the last fight of the 20 teens as a decade and of 2019 as a year in front of literally, swamps, tens of people, so to speak.
Yeah, it's a...
it's like I said, you don't really want to have that type of atmosphere where you have Americans sit through 6 straight hours of fighting, seeing the main event, and then sticking through every last post lim. But still, you want to talk about the main event now?
Yes, and this fight was awesome. It was a great way to end the show. It's ironic that the last fight of a show where soccer kicks were allowed ends in a soccer kick. And near the end of the third round. And I'll want you to give the details of this fight, Christian.
Go ahead and read it. I'm watching it as it's happening.
Great. So this was a 157-pound lightweight / catchweight match between Yusuke Yachi, Crazy B's Yusuke Yachi, taking on Hearts Hiroto Uesako. And both fighters were coming off major losses previously. Yachi, I believe his last loss was the Mikuru Asakura match from last year. And then Uesako got eliminated in the quarterfinals of the not the bantamweight, the lightweight tournament that Rizin had. And he was eliminated by Luis Gustavo by doctor stoppage. And you had two fighters coming off a loss, two fighters who are former featherweights, have gone up in weight, and looking for a win. I think that's a great way to book a fight. Because you got two people who are hungry, you got two people who want to win, and it creates something much more compelling. Anyway, it was both these fighters came to win. There was no going to the ground. There was no stalling, no nothing. These two fighters were aching for that win. And right in the very end, so 4 minutes, 30 seconds of the third round, Yachi gets a beautiful soccer kick to a downed Uesako, and the referee relays it off. Basically what happened is Yachi knocked down. It looked like that Uesako was going to knock down, was going to knock out Yachi, but then Uesako got hit with a cross. He goes down like on all fours. Yachi runs in, soccer kicks him, and the referee immediately stops it. Both guys were bloody. They were bruised. It was an amazing fight. Absolutely incredible fight. Actually, the funny thing is, you can see this fight individually on YouTube and Daily Motion, I believe, and also someone uploaded the Fuji TV version of that Bellator Japan show, and that this fight is shown in full. So you can see the fight with graphics and television things and all that stuff. What have you seen, Christian? What have you seen with this? Oh, actually, before you answer that, so Yachi becomes 21-9, Uesako 16-9, and Uesako as well having a fight coming up in Pancrase. I believe April 12th is when he'll be fighting in Pancrase in the main event.
Oh yeah, he's supposed to be having. I mean, yeah, we're supposed to be talking with, Stuart Fulton down the line about, those upcoming Pancrase cards.
Yeah, it's a double show. They're doing like 2 shows back to back. So you have that to look forward to see Uesako in. So what as you're watching this match, Christian, what do you have to say about this match from what you can see?
All I can say was that soccer kick that Yusuke Yachi landed on Hiroto Uesako was just a thing of beauty.
Oh, just to let everybody know, so he'll be fighting at Pancrase 314 at Shinkiba Studio Coast against Yusuke Kazuya. You recognize that name?
Kazuya? Not really.
He fought in UFC twice.
Oh, okay.
And one of the people that he lost to was Alexander Volkanovski.
Who is the current UFC featherweight champion.
Yes. But so yeah, we got it's going to be a hopefully Uesako could get a win in that match. I definitely would bring him back for a Rizin match, lightweight. I'm trying to think. It's a lightweight division, with Tofik being the center of the division. I'm trying to, Johnny Case isn't there anymore. He's in PFL now. Damian Brown may not be able to fight for the foreseeable future due to the Australia travel ban. Are there any? Do you know if there's any bans going on with Brazil or any of that sort, Christian?
I don't think so. I haven't heard anything about no travel bans coming out of Brazil.
you might, if you wanted to maybe do eventually, I'm trying to think of like some Bellator fighters who are not Americans that they could get over in Japan.
I mean, come to think of it, I do know that as a one Bellator fighter fighting over in Japan, Goiti Yamauchi, who just recently fought in Rizin, he probably might end up. I mean, he's going to be fighting on one of those Pancrase double bookings coming up.
Okay, that's interesting. Trying to think. So you would you want to do Goiti Yamauchi versus? I mean, here's the thing. He did win his match against Darian Cruikshank. I don't know. I always have a problem putting winners against losers, in my personal opinion. I would say maybe do Darren Cruikshank versus Yue Sako, but that we don't know what's the future of American fighters traveling internationally. So,
I mean, maybe you can book. I mean, maybe that fight could be booked once this whole travel ban thing subsides.
Oh, that'd be great. Absolutely. Please do. Yeah, I think that Cruikshank versus Yue Sako would be a very interesting match to make. Very good match to make.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
that way Cruikshank can send another Japanese champion into orbit.
Yeah. Now, question is, what about Yachi? Because, I remember when we talked to Yue Sako, he said that he thinks that Yachi's oppressed, that he doesn't want to be a fighter anymore, basically. And we kind of had the same inkling as well, judging from his performances, that the Gustavo loss, the Azakura loss. What do you do with Yachi next, now that he made this comeback win?
I don't know. But if you don't get him involved on that fight card where Mikuru Asakura is going to be facing off against Kotetsu Boku, I think only then will his career be over.
Do you think an eventual rematch between him and Asakura is warranted or no?
Well, I mean, if the fans want to see it.
I don't know. Because Asakura dominated the fight so badly, it's almost.
So,
I don't know.
In other words, that would be a definitive no?
At this point, yes. I mean, here's the thing as well. We don't know what Asakura's fight future is going to be. He said he wanted better competition. Then apparently he said he wants to focus on his YouTube channel. Now apparently he's facing Kotetsu Boku. Okay. Here's a good fight you can make. How about him versus El Cazador? Yachi versus El Cazador. Yes.
You know what? That would totally make sense. That really would. I mean, because if you think about it, up until Salas got finished by Mikuru Asakura, he was displaying a ton of heart in that fight.
I normally don't like to pit winners against losers, but I'm almost gonna consider this Bellator Postlims show is almost kind of like out of canon in a weird way, just because of the fact that it aired very weirdly, and that it was in Japan. But also, I think you also gotta consider the fact that Yachi wasn't dominating that fight as well. Yui Sako was close to winning that fight. So I think you need to put him up against somebody like someone who's tough. See who comes out in the end. If Yachi can win, then we can start talking about that climbing him back up to the lightweight. And who knows, if he starts to get a lot more wins, maybe him versus Tofik eventually. I think that's a very interesting match to make, him versus Tofik Musayev, if he continues on a dominant streak.
Of course.
But so, I mean, is there anything you want to say about these fights? Do you want to give a fight at night or performance at night or anything? Any last words about this show, this portion of the Postlims, Christian?
Well, I mean, to be honest, when it comes down to these fights, is there really... You can't really give fights that you didn't get a chance to see on regular television or anywhere other than, outside of watching it on stream, you can't really give these fights any type of performance bonuses because these fighters just came in there, busted their ass for the people that were still in the building, and put on a hell of a show. Mm-hmm. But in all honesty, if I were to give my performance of the night bonuses, I would have to give them to, obviously, the decision of the night, the big performance of the night bonus would have to go to Jared Brooks because he just dominated Harlow Ochi for 3 rounds. The knockout of the night, I would have to give, more than likely, I would have to give to Ren Hiramoto for just mollywopping Takahiro Ashida. Submission, obviously it would be a tie between Kana Asakura and Shoma Shibisai, even though Shoma finished Sergei Shimatov a lot quicker than Kana Asakura did Jamie Henshaw. But still, these fights were just so great that it really felt like the actual fight card, not just, fights that took place after the show was over.
So, for me, Friday night easily goes to Yue Sako versus Yachi. Performance of the night, Yachi for a beautiful soccer kick finish to cap off a night, an okay night of mixed martial arts and kickboxing. And then to Shoma Shibisai for the incredibly rare Achilles lock submission on Sergei Shemetov. I thought overall, I thought it was an okay show. I think it looked better on paper than it did, than it was executed. Not so much that it was boring, but I just think, with the caliber of fighters, I thought that the Zavatella and Nguyen fight was The Takahashi fight, Nakamura fight was incredibly boring. The Brooks Ochi fight, it was one guy dominating the entire fight, and that's great for Brooks. But from a fight perspective, it's like, it clearly was outmatched from the beginning. Ochi was. The finishes were good though. The finishes were overall good though. And also the Azakura Jamie Henshaw match again. Clearly Henshaw was so outmatched by Azakura that it wasn't even funny. So yeah, it wasn't a bad card. I think it was just I think because of the main Bellator Japan show was so good, and then with the Rizin 21 show that happened later that week was amazing. I think in comparison that this portion of that whole week was probably the weakest to come out of the 3 shows.
Oh. So basically, you were saying, according to you, the Bellator Japan Post Lims was weak.
Big pardon, sorry, what was that again, Christian?
You're basically saying the Bellator Japan Post Lims were weak, right?
Well, the weakest compared to everything that was going on to the other 2 shows. I think if we were to rank them, Rizin 21, Bellator Japan main card, Post Lims. I think that's how I would put it.
Understood.
But again, like I said, if you want to see these fights, you can find them on YouTube and on Daily Motion. Try looking up the fighters by their English name. If not, look them up by katakana or kanji. And that way you can find the fights either by direct Yao Sky Perfect feed or fan cam. And hopefully this just Rizin doesn't do shit like this again. I don't know. I'm having little faith, though, given the whole debacle that just happened with the Rizin 22 Fight TV thing. So I worry that something like this will happen again, unfortunately.
Understood. To be honest, after what recently happened with this Rizin 21 card, and seeing the fact that Rizin's days on Fight TV are pretty much numbered, I would hope they would make the right decisions.
I hope so,
when
too.
It comes to the future of this promotion airing on that platform.
I absolutely hope so. I sincerely, really hope so. And especially, here's the thing as well. Being that there is let's assume that there is no more UFC shows or Bellator shows in April as well. Because apparently the rumors of the 249 Tony Ferguson Khabib match apparently is not going to happen, at least in New York. If there is a lack of combat sports in the West, Rizin should see this as a great opportunity to put on something so that people can satiate themselves with combat sports that they can put on. And there will be no better time than to go back on Fight TV or whatever thing they want to show their matches. This is the best time to do it now, I think. So they better strike while the iron is hot, or else they may not have this opportunity again. They almost fucked it up with the Rizin 22 debacle. They can maybe make up for it by gaining a whole new bunch of fans if they deliver something that UFC or Bellator can't deliver now, and that is MMA.
Exactly. And with that, you want me to go ahead and get the plugs out the way so we can end this a little bit earlier than expected?
Sure, by all means, Christian. Go ahead, good sir.
All right. If you want to check us out, like I said, you can do that through Twitter. I'm on Twitter at ChrisGary92. Andrew is on Twitter at ABenja1. ABenja1. The show Twitter is at We Are Rising Pod, at WeAreRizinPod, all in one word. And if you want to check out more from this podcast, you can do so by following us on YouTube or checking us out on Stitcher and SoundCloud, and hopefully soon. And I'm trying to get this show out as much as I can. I'm trying to get Andrew onto podbean.com, but he just doesn't want to. Either way, hopefully we can get this podcast out to all providers and services of choice. That includes Google, Apple, iTunes, and all that, even though Andrew hates Apple. Other than that, you can follow everything that goes on when it comes down to the Rizin Fighting Federation via Facebook and Instagram at Rizin Fighting Federation, on Twitter at Rizin_PR, at Rizin_English, and on YouTube, just search them up, Rizin Fighting Federation, and they'll be the first thing you see. For the Bellator MMA side of things, you can check them out on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram at Bellator MMA. That's all in one word, BELLATOR MMA. And as far as the rest of the plugs go, Focus Fights, we follow prospects all over the fighting love scenes of the US, UK, China, Japan, Russia, South Korea, Guam, everywhere except for Antarctica will be emphasized. You can follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Focus Fights, or search us up on YouTube or Google. And if you click Focus Fights, the YouTube channel will be right up there. Check out the best damn fight ball period. It's Facebook.com/DMMA opinion.
Also, I want to plug the Rizin YouTube channel. Rizin.
Yeah, I already mentioned that. I think I plugged through that as well.
No, our YouTube channel, I meant.
Yeah, I already mentioned that. You can check us out on YouTube.
Oh, I thought you said the Rizin Federation YouTube channel.
Yeah, you can check either the Rizin Fighting Federation YouTube channel out. Just search for Rizin Fighting Federation. Or you can check out the We Are Rizin YouTube channel. Just search for We Are Rizin, WeAreRizin, all in one word.
Also, just want to say as well, we have a Discord as well, Rizin fans, FF fans, where you can discuss whatever you want regarding mixed martial arts. Doesn't just have to be Rizin, but it's quiet now for obvious reasons. But feel free to join in on the Discord while you are doing
the
your.
Link is in obviously, if you're gonna be editing, I'm gonna probably be editing a lot of this podcast, even though it was only a little bit. But the link will be in the SoundCloud and Stitcher descriptions.
Yes, and especially with us.
Check it out, and it's open for everybody. It's not going to close for any reasons. If you're willing to talk about some great Rizin action or some great JMMA memories, feel free to join us through there.
I
Other
think.
than that,
I was going to say, since social distancing is the word of the year, what a great way to converse with other people about JMMA, J Kick, and all that stuff, than the Ryzen fans Discord.
exactly. But other than that, it's been fun it's been fun talking with you about the Bellator Japan show, and I hope that we get more opportunities to talk about some fantastic fights and some fantastic fighters and fight personalities down the line. We thank y'all for listening to us, and we're even grateful that you're joining us through the We Are Rising podcast. Until then, stay safe, take care of yourselves as you do for others, and vice versa. Drive carefully, wash your nasty ass hands for 20 seconds at a time, of course. And as Lenny Hart always likes to say to close out the show, as she bellows it high for everybody to hear. And just like that, we out this mug. Talk to y'all later.